Good day, everyone. My name is Pike Matthews, and today I'll be doing a report on what is looking in the vents, or rather, a report on Legionnaires Disease. To begin, I'd just like to talk about some misconceptions that people might have on Legionnaires Disease, given that Legionnaires Disease is not widely known, and though it is talked about on the news on the occasion, it's something that most people in their lives will not see or not be affected by. Or they might, but it might be misconstrued as like flu or maybe a cold. But just to begin, I'd just like to clear up some misconceptions on like the name, which is that it does not come from the Roman legion. In fact, that it's Legionnaires disease is it's a modern disease, given that it only started. We only were able to discover this in the 1970s. Then I would just like to talk about that just being inside doesn't mean you'll contract Legionnaires disease, meaning that being inside might slightly increase your chances of contracting Legionnaires disease, but it's very rare, and just being cautious and knowing, hey, I don't want to drink this disgusting water. This hotel is kind of slimy. I'm not going to take a shower. That sort of stuff will most often keep you safe from Legionnaires disease. But as I will talk to you about, people can get it. It sucks. It's terrible, and I want to at least make people aware of this disease. And lastly, Legionnaires disease does not spread person to person, meaning that you're not likely to catch it from another person in case they have Legionnaires disease. But I'm not so sure about Pontiac fever, which is similar to flu, so there might be more of a chance of catching it, but I am not sure myself. What is looking in the vents? Well, it's Legionnaires lymphophila, which is the cause of Legionnaires disease, but it also is the cause of Pontiac fever. So Legionnaires disease is also known as Legionnaires pneumonia, and it's an atypical form of pneumonia because Legionnaires lymphophila likes to grow in water. It is found in water, it's found in pools, hot tubs, and a lot of different places that we want to think about, and I'll go into more detail very shortly. So let's just talk about what Legionella nymphophila is. Well, it's bacillus, it's gram-negative, it's aerobic, non-sporogenous, it does not form a capsule, it's flagellated, and it's intracellular. So it likes to just get right into cells and grow within them, and boom, spreads them all around. But I will get into more detail on that in just a second. So let us begin with the taxonomy. Well, Legionnaires nymphophila belongs to the kingdom bacteria, the phylum Protobacteria, the class Gamma Protobacteria, the order Legionnaires, the family Legionella archaea, its genus is Legionella, and its species Legionella nymphophila. Now, Legionella is a very diverse, and has a multitude of different species. However, primarily Legionnaires disease is caused by Legionella nymphophila, and in its serogroups 1, 4, and 6, with 80% of all known cases of Legionnaires disease that have been diagnosed being caused by Legionella nymphophila serogroup 1. Now on this picture right on the slide, I have a picture of just Legionella nymphophila growing on a plate. Now I don't know which serogroup it is or what, anything like that, but I think it's a really good picture of just like what it looks like on a plate. In 1977, Legionnaires disease was discovered after the work of the microbiologist Joseph McDade was able to identify both the cause, which was Legionella nymphophila, and how it was able to spread, being that it was Legionella nymphophila was aerosolized through the air conditioning systems of the hotel which the convention was being held at, and spread out to all the people at the convention, which is horrible to think about because a lot of these people at this American Legion's convention were more at risk than more normal healthy people. And so Joseph McDade chose to not name the disease after himself, but to name it after the American Legion to pay homage for the people who unfortunately died because of the Legionnaires disease, and also those that were infected as well. And also, interestingly enough, Joseph McDade was able to identify that the cause of Pontiac fever and Legionnaires disease are one and the same. Now, I only know that Legionnaires disease is mainly caused by Legionnaires disease. One, I don't know if other species of Legionella cause more often than not Pontiac fever, but I think that's also interesting to know. So the pathogenesis and the transmission of Legionnaires disease is caused by as I mentioned previously, the inhalation of contaminated water from sources like hot tubs and air conditioning systems, and it just cannot be spread person to person. Now, when I say it cannot be spread, it's just very, very unlikely that it can be spread person to person, as most people when most outbreaks do occur, it's caused by like contaminated water, the hot tub having biofilm in it, but it is not that spread human to human that we see with other kinds of diseases. So once the Legionella nymphophilia actually gets inside of of an individual, it begins to basically try to get itself attached to the evocellular macrophages. Now, once it's attached, it gets phagocytized, but because of its ability to secrete type 1, that's type 1, type 2, type 3, and type 4 secretion systems, it's able to prevent it from being digested, and it's able to hijack the cell and allows it to reproduce more and more until it eventually pops out, causing it to spread to more and more cells. And because of that, it can impact the liver, the kidneys, the lungs, most importantly. But it can spread it can spread very fast, given that its ability to just hijack the cells. So the symptoms after the incubation period, which is depending on the days, like 2 to 8, I believe, we can see the symptoms occur, like depending on the severity and how your immune system is fighting it off. A dry cough, fever, and headache are most common signs. But there can also be diarrhea in some cases, lethargy, and loss of appetite. But depending on how severe it is, we can even begin to see septic shock, respiratory failure, acute kidney injury, and multiple organ failure, just because of how Legionnaires disease can just spread so fast and can be so dangerous without proper treatment. And I'd like to take this moment to talk about a victim of Legionnaires disease. And though she did not pass, she had her life completely altered by Legionnaires disease, as Nancy McKinney, who is in this picture right now, contracted Legionnaires disease. And though there was no cause for how she contracted the disease, due to complications caused by Legionnaires disease, she contracted gangrene. Well, she got gangrene and had to have her partial amounts of her hand and legs removed in order to hopefully save her life. And that's it. And this is just to take a moment to say that even though Legionnaires disease is not common, it can impact a life. So Legionnaires disease can be thankfully tested and diagnosed using x-rays. It can be cultured using a special charcoal containing agar. So if you don't really like culturing in the microbiology lab, well, you're going to still have to learn how to culture if you get into the medical field or you want to become a microbiologist or someone in that field. So that's it. However, there are some problems that come with diagnosing Legionnaires disease, and that's just knowing to do it, because the biggest thing is actually just trying to diagnose, but sometimes it's expensive. Sometimes it takes time. Some people don't want to. Some people don't have healthcare, and a lot of these factors make diagnosing Legionnaires' disease very hard. But it is actually really easy to do because just by using X-rays, going on an agar plate, the urinary antigen test, which is very effective and actually determining that you do or do not have Legionnaires' disease, except for the fact that it can only test for Legionnaires' lymphophilia 1, serogroup 1. It's very easy. But just as I said, it also can be easily treated, and with antibiotics like doxycycline and azithromycin. However, even though that Legionnaires' disease can be treated and diagnosed, there's still a lot of outbreaks that occur. From 2006 to 2017, the CDC reported a total of 98 outbreaks of Legionnaires' disease. But this does not include the fact that people can just contract it in their homes, at their offices, in a hospital. It can be even. They said it can be found anywhere. Like Legionnaires' disease has been recorded from Flint, Michigan, which that's not to say that it was expected, but we can see that coming. But it also can be found in Christchurch, New Zealand, and I'm gonna fail to pronounce the name of it, but in Norway. But I said the outbreaks range from just being found in pools of spas, in non-potable water sources, and just potable water sources, just building water systems. So these things that are in every first world country can just simply be a reservoir for Legionnaires' disease, and that is crazy to think about. Because in this modern world, we don't think about how these water systems can be a reservoir for this disease that can be lethal for us. I said the main populations at risk of contracting Legionnaires' disease, however, are long-term hospital patients and hospital employees, people who are immunocompromised, and smokers, as Legionnaires' disease attacks the lungs, and because of your either a weakened immune system or just damaged lungs from smoking, can severely increase the severity of Legionnaires' disease. As I said, most often not, Legionnaires' disease, however, only has a lethality rate of 10%, but if left untreated, can increase depending on a multitude of factors, such as how long you were in the presence of it. Are you taking your antibiotics, and do you not have these health problems? But on average, in 2020, the annual rate for Legionnaires was about 5.6 for every 100,000 people. And here's just a map of the CDC talking about, okay, here are the actual numbers. And some of these numbers are often higher because there's massive outbreaks that occur, causing a huge spike in Legionnaires' disease or legionellosis or Pontiac's fever. Lastly, I just want to talk to you all about the research and future outlook of Legionnaires' disease. Well, most often is just being able to determine the interactions between Legionnaires and lymphophilia, and its innate and adaptive immune system's response. So, how do the body handles it, and how does Legionnaires and lymphophilia try to circumvent it? So, Legionnaires and lymphophilia is a modern disease. It was only discovered in the 1970s, meaning that haven't had a century to actually look at it. Further, it's just trying to better determine how we can prevent Legionnaires and lymphophilia from growing within our homes, within our pools, within our HVAC systems, and just just spreading awareness of proper treatment and care of water sources. Like Legionnaires and lymphophilia grows in water, and if we don't take care of it, it can make us all sick, and we don't want that, as water is fundamental for our life. And lastly, here are my references. I thank you so much for listening to my presentation. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I can't wait to talk to you about Legionnaires' disease.